Very good, puppy. Okay, hold on. All right. Do you ever feel like you just don't have enough to do what you really want? Of course, we all do from time to time. I'm Adam from Dirty Roots Berlin, and this is week 6 review of the Artist Way series. I finally have the actual book, and I'm here in Canada this week, visiting my parents on this beautiful property. For those of you who don't know, the Artist Way is a creativity program to help you get unblocked. This is actually my second time doing it, and I'm doing it on camera this time. This is a way to help keep me more honest and help me make sure that I do more of the tasks and complete more of the work here. So it's a beautiful piece of land. They purchased this land when I was 16 in rural Cape Breton, and it took them about 20 years, but they eventually built their dream home here. But it's still in this unkept wooded forest, and there's so much dead wood in here that's just a fire waiting to happen. So every time I come home, I try to clean up the woods and get it a little bit healthier, get rid of a lot of the dead wood. So this is where I've been spending a lot of my time recently, and yeah, it's been fun. But every week there's a review. We'll go through the review and I'll talk about this week. It's definitely been a better week than, say, the past couple ones. This was about getting a sense of abundance. A bit of an odd week given the fact that I was sort of away, I guess. But I think in many ways it still was quite fitting. One of the first things we did this week was a special exercise called counting an exercise, where basically you just keep track of every cent that you spend. And so far I've done that, except for one store where we got a bunch of things like at the dollar store. So I haven't gone through and itemized each one of those, but I have that. Everything else I've kept track of, and it was nice to keep track of it. I wasn't too surprised by what I keep track of. As far as when it comes to money, I'm generally fairly well aware of where it goes. So whether I'm happy about that or not is a different story, but I wasn't too surprised. And particularly being on vacation, or not so much vacation, but being here on this trip, it's made it kind of obvious what I would be spending my money on, and it seemed to match up pretty clearly. So there wasn't very many surprises when it came to that. The next exercise was Money Madness, is what it's called. And you basically write down answers to a whole bunch of prompts. So it's like, people with money are, money makes people. I'd have money if my dad thought money was, my mom always thought money would. And so I went through and I definitely wrote down my answers. So yeah, I definitely wrote down all of my answers to this. And I was pretty surprised by a lot of the things that came out, actually rereading this. I'm not going to read these out loud because some of them are very personal, but I was pretty surprised. I think there were a few things that I expected, a few things I didn't expect, definitely some things I liked, and a lot of things I didn't like. So it was very eye-opening in many ways. So those were the 2 exercises, and then every week there's also a series of tasks. There's not always exercises, but there are tasks. So the first task was natural abundance. Find 5 pretty or interesting rocks. And this was a particularly curious one because the property on which my parents live is right on the ocean, and it's a rocky, it's not a sandy beach, it's a very rocky beach with these sort of ragged, craggy rocks. And there's tons of really beautiful, well-weathered stones as well that line the beach. And there's almost so many, I found it difficult to find ones that stood out, right? Like they almost, the beauty of all of them was so common that it was hard to really find ones that I liked. But if I had found any single one of these stones anywhere else, I would have been like, oh my gosh, this stone is so cool and so amazing. Check out the patterns or the colors. But the beach is lined with these like very beautiful rocks. Now I kind of wish I had one here to show you on camera. So I did find one that I thought was really cool. And instead I found also a piece of, there's tons of flies, a piece of driftwood bark, which also looks really cool. And now I wish I had brought them out with me, and I kind of forgot after I did this whole setup. But It's okay, I found those down at the beach. Most of what I've been doing is cutting down deadwood, not so much looking for the interesting things. But there's some cool trees out here, which were really hidden. It was so dense back here. You literally couldn't walk where I'm standing. It was just dead branches all the way through here. And so found some really cool, very old trees, which is nice, which now have a little bit more space and a little bit more light, as well as some of the younger trees, which will now have the ability to develop. And I think it's going to be much healthier forest overall. And actually, the ground cover is starting to grow and fill in very quickly, which is amazing. So, yeah, I didn't quite find the 5 rocks, but I definitely found a few, and I have been finding a lot of abundance and beauty elsewhere, along with an abundance of flies. It's not windy at all today, which means the flies are out in force. But hey, you know, it's about recovering a sense of abundance, and there's an abundance of nature around. And if you really have beautiful natural scapes like this, then you're gonna have a lot of wildlife, and that includes not just the cool wildlife like the birds and the squirrels and the bobcats and other things that live out here, but also the flies and the mosquitoes and the not so fun aspects of nature as well. But you know, that they come together. The next task was to pick 5 flowers or leaves. To be honest, I didn't do this one at all. There were quite a few flowers around that my mom had planted, and I just left them. I'm not going to pick her flowers. And there aren't a whole lot of other flowers around right now, and there aren't really a whole lot of leaves either. Most of the trees here are spruce trees. It's just basically almost entirely spruce trees in these woods. There is a few others. There's some larches and not entirely sure, maybe some rowans. But there's definitely some trees, but most of it's spruce, and none of them really have very interesting leaves, and not all of them. It's so early in the season here, despite the fact that it's now June. It's early for Cape Breton, and so things are just starting to leaf out this time of year. So there wasn't really a bunch of good leaves. I'm not going to go picking off the 3 leaves off of the weak tree that was here anyway. So I kind of skipped this. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense, and instead I just appreciated it. I didn't need to pick it. But what I really liked is there's tons of really beautiful fiddleheads that are coming up, and some of them are just starting to unfurl and starting to see more of the leaves or the fronds of the ferns, but there's tons of them all over. And now that we're opening up the forest a little bit more and some more light is getting down, even more of them are starting to pop up almost immediately. So instead of picking it and owning it, I decided to let it be and appreciate it, but still engage in the task sort of in my own way. I don't need to destroy it in order to enjoy it. So the next task was to throw out or give away 5 pieces of ratty clothing. I haven't done that because I was really just getting ready to go, and then I was traveling, and now that I'm here. So I did, however, buy some socks here. So I think I'll be able to throw out some old ratty socks as well as a few other things. And when I get back home, despite it being the next week, I will still clean some things out. The next task was to bake something. I have not baked anything yet because, again, I was traveling. I could bake something. Maybe I'll even bake something here later today. I have cooked a bit for myself, but I really haven't done a whole lot of that. Yeah, I mean, I helped participate in making ice cream with my mom, but I didn't really do a whole lot, so I wouldn't really say I baked or cooked, or neither. Making ice cream is neither of those things, but I didn't do that even. But that doesn't mean I won't or couldn't. I certainly could. I've been so focused on being out here. I don't think I needed to bake in order to recover that sense of abundance. I think I could do that well enough here without having to do that particular task and still be able to do it. This one I did not do, and this is to send 5 postcards, and I forgot about this. I told myself, oh, when I'm at the airport here, I'll go grab some postcards and I'll send them out, and I totally forgot. I'd been traveling for a number of hours. It makes sense. I was kind of jet lagged, and I should have grabbed some postcards. That would have been fantastic, but I didn't. So maybe I will go. If I remember, I'll grab them on the way and maybe send them from Germany or something. I'm probably going to go into town today. I might be able to pick up some cards in town. If I see some postcards in town, I'll do that, and I'll send them, and I'll send them from here, because that would be cool. And I really wanted to do that. I totally forgot. So it was not convenient to do when I was getting ready to go, and I thought I'll do it here because I'll have so much time. And I'm gonna go into town though, and we'll see if I can find some postcards. So the next task was to list my favorites in the following categories, and I realized it was favorites, not favorite. I made that mistake, and I only wrote down my favorite in every category, but I don't think those were too personal, but personal enough. Let's see what I got. Favorites, okay. So cars. So my favorite car I wrote down is the Shelby GT, I guess it's Shelby GT 500. I'll be honest, I'm not a car guy. I don't really care about cars at all. The reason I like this car was because when I was a kid, I really liked the Nicolas Cage, Angelina Jolie movie, Gone in 60 Seconds. I just thought this was such a cool movie. And in that was sort of the car that they were trying to steal. There was lots of other cars, but this one was sort of like the cursed car, almost impossible. If I remember correctly, it's been a long time since I've seen the movie, but that was the Shelby GT 500, and that was the car they were really trying to steal. No spoilers, I won't tell you how it ends, but that was definitely... I actually don't remember how it ends, to be honest. I don't think it ends how I expect. Anyway, I guess I'll have to go back and watch that one. But that's why I wrote down the Shelby GT 500, only because I remember it from that movie, but I don't care about cars. They've never interested me. I'm so glad I don't have to own one living in Berlin. That would be one of the downsides of living here in Canada, is that you have to have a car. There's no buses out here. There's no public transportation. And it's 16 kilometers, I think, to the closest street where there's a gas station. It's no, even a bike, there's no bike lane. It's just there's no shoulder on the roads here. So it's not impossible, but it would be damn near impossible, particularly given the fact that the weather is so terrible. So you would basically have to drive everywhere. And I'm so glad I don't have to do that in Berlin. Next up was favorite dogs. And I wrote down Koa, because Koa is my favorite dog, and that's this dog right here. It's my parents' dog. He's a Bernese. Yes, I'm talking about you, buddy. Yes, buddy. And he's so sweet. A little hyper, a little goofy. Maybe needs a little bit better training, but we gave him a lot of exercise, so he's pretty relaxed these days. Checking out what's going on. I don't know if there's a squirrel or a rabbit. Lots of animals around here. Yeah, buddy. So, but if I had to put in other dogs, I'd put on Chunk. There's a dog that I watch who's actually similar breed, but much smaller, decently smaller, is a Appenzeller Zennerhund, Chunk. And I watch him about once a week, sometimes a little bit more, or watch him, have him for a couple of days. But every Wednesday, more or less, I would take care of him, and that's been really fun. He's a very sweet dog, a little more strong-headed, definitely protective, and can be a bit aggressive. So I have to kind of, make sure that I talk to him, and he likes that sort of we have a more I don't know how you would describe that, like such a friendly, loving relationship, but sometimes he wants to try to protect me and starts barking at very inappropriate people, like elderly people, and just inappropriately. So I don't know where I'm going with that. Cut out that whole thing. Let me go back. I'm going to say, but also, had I realized it was favorites, I would also put on Chunk, which is a dog that I watch on Wednesdays, and he's a really fun dog. He's a similar breed. He's an Appenzeller Zennerhund, a bit smaller, but very stocky, kind of aggressive, but really fun dog as well. And I watch him mostly on Wednesdays. We go out on long walks, and that's a great day for me to kind of get out and, have a bit of creativity time. It's not perfectly creativity because I'm so focused on him. He's not the best walker. And so trying to work with him more so than just be lost in my own thoughts and keep attention on him. But still, it's a great way to just kind of get out of my own head. And he's also a fun dog. And when we're at home, he's just the sweetest, cuddliest dog in the world. So I didn't write that down, but I would also add Chunk to that list. What is next? My favorite flowers. I wrote down calla lilies, mostly because, again, I don't really have a favorite flower too much, but I do kind of like them. Lots of flowers are amazing. I think almost all flowers are cool. Like, I don't know. I'm fascinated by so many of them. I don't really have favorites because I think they can all be really cool. There's so many cool orchids. So many wild orchids, but I don't remember specifically which ones. So, yeah. Oh, lots of birds, lots of birds. And one thing I have noticed in clearing out all of this is the birds coming in very quickly. And yeah, now the squirrels kind of moving around. Oh yeah, there's a few birds coming in. And it really opens it up so much more wildlife can come and move in and use it. And by getting rid of all of this dead wood down here lower, it helps prevent any fire, hopefully, from spreading. So there's a lot of work to go. It's still definitely, in my opinion, not fire safe, but we're definitely getting there. So, speaking of, the next one is favorite trees. And I wrote down birch. I really like birch trees. I think birch trees are very cool. You can use the bark for a lot of things. I love the way that the bark changes as well as they age, and they're just, yeah, they're really cool. There's a lot of them in Berlin, none here. I mean, there might be some others more inland, but none here on the sort of the coastal property. But there's a bunch in Berlin, and they look cool. They age really well, and like I said, the bark's medicinal. But you could, write on it if you needed to, and the way it just sort of peels off. So next up, favorite fruits. Again, I wrote singular kiwi is my favorite fruit, but I do like a lot of fruits too. I mean, strawberries, berries in general, like your berries. I know not all berries are berries. Like a blackberry is great, but it's not technically a berry. Strawberries are great, also not a berry, but not so big into pumpkins, which are a berry. But what are you gonna do? Like, if you want to be more colloquial, I love berries, strawberries, cherries, blueberries, blackberries. I like a lot of the more tart fruits. I tend more to, so the kiwis, I eat kiwis with the skin on. Yeah, I kind of, as I've gotten older, the green ones, the more traditional or sort of classic kiwi, is a bit too tart with the skin on. So the golden kiwi is a really, really nice option. Honestly, first off, there's so much effort that has to go into like cutting it in half and scooping it out when I can just eat it so much quicker. And you do get some good fiber and I think a couple of other things in there, but I don't eat it for the benefits. I eat it because it's easier and I don't mind the taste. Although I'm tending to not like the regular green ones as much, but the golden ones are fantastic. Okay, favorite vegetables. I think I wrote down carrot. Yeah, I wrote down carrot. I like carrots. Carrots are great. I used to like celery, particularly with peanut butter, but more recently I've noticed when I eat celery, it makes my mouth tingle, and I think that that's probably a sign that I'm mildly allergic to it. But regardless, it's not fun. I don't really enjoy my mouth tingling, but I would eat it with peanut butter a lot. But I really I'm not a big vegetable fan. I've been doing that dinosaur time with something's up. Or mutuals on TikTok, and that's baby spinach or even regular spinach is a great way. Just keep a big bag in the fridge, and so spinach isn't terrible. But yeah, I'm not a big. Tomatoes can be okay, but it depends on how they're done, the kind of tomato, and the way they're prepared. Potatoes are really good if they're done in particular ways. Mashed potatoes, French fries are great. Next up, favorite desserts. I wrote down ice cream. Ice cream is fantastic. I do like chocolate. Some good home baked goods are nice. A good home brownie, is always a lovely thing. I like a good brownie. What else do we have? Okay, so the next is my favorite entree. And of course, this is an American author, so I'm going to assume that entree means the main meal. So I wrote down steak. I don't know if you heard those birds. But yeah, steak is a great main meal. That is when it comes to entrees. Probably one of my favorite. I do like good burger. Chili. Ooh, nice homemade chili. I like to make chili. I haven't made it often, but I made it recently again. And I got to say, that's going to be staple. We're going into the summer season, so I'm gonna have to maybe wait a couple months, but Berlin is cold a lot. So as soon as it dips down again, that chili is coming out. But I might make some bean salad. Beans, I don't know, beans a vegetable? I do like a good, sort of bean salad. Musical groups. Okay, so I wrote down, I don't really have a favorite musical group. There's a lot of musical groups I've liked over the years. So I wrote down Steely Dan, just because it's somewhat like, I think most people really don't like Steely Dan. But I think they're fantastic for some reason. I grew up listening to them, but I probably, if I had seen bands, I would have written down like Led Zeppelin was the first favorite band I had. And I was talking to someone, it's when a lot of people, when they first get into music at like 12, 13, Led Zeppelin is like the band that becomes your favorite band. Yeah, it's one of those bands that is just like, Steely Dan, so Led Zeppelin, right? It's one of those bands that like when a lot of people first get into music, it's like the band, it's easy, they've been around for a long time, great music, really fun. You can listen to a lot of albums, like the whole album, right? Not just like a couple of tracks. And they've got albums that are really great. So I think that this is certainly an early on band, but I loved Soul Coughing and Cake. A lot of good sort of 90s alternative. I still really, I think it's terrible music. It's really bad, but I just absolutely guilty pleasure is the self-titled album Third Eye Blind is just, I don't know why. I could listen to the whole thing. I don't really like the song Jumper, but other than that, the whole album's just amazing. And the reason I don't like the song Jumper is A, it's kind of depressing, but also there was an episode of MTV's Real World where they had to make, like, I don't know if it was a music video. I think it was a music video for the song Jumper. And it was just like, it was a bad episode. And you heard the song over and over again. And it was just like too much. I still usually listen to it when I play the album because I play the album through, but that is definitely a guilty pleasure of mine. And August and Everything After by the Counting Crows is another guilty pleasure. Like, I don't want to say I like the music, but it definitely has like an emotional attachment to it, if that makes sense. Certainly the critic in me is like, this is terrible, but I still will listen to those albums from time to time. But there's a lot of stuff, particularly from the 90s, that I like and still like. Or that was the time when I got into music. The Kinks and the Ramones and Sex Pistols, a lot of punk, McCluskey. That was later on. I think when I was in university, I got into McCluskey. And they're touring again. And one of the things I did based upon this Artist's Way thing was, sort of treating yourself and creating a sense of abundance. I looked really quick before I was leaving town and I noticed that they're touring again. And so I got tickets. They're going to be in Berlin in November. So I'm going to go to that show in November. I got 2 tickets, so that should be fun. Beautiful butterflies starting to come out as well. So yeah, bud. And then favorite color. My favorite color is green. It's just always been green. I think it's kind of changing now, but okay, so the next task was to reread the basic principles. I didn't do it every day. I did it the first couple of days, and then the first day, 2 days, and then I left town, and I haven't done it since then, if I'm being honest. I probably should go back and read them, but I feel like they're starting to sink in regardless. Every time I read them, I kind of feel like I don't need to read them, but I probably do. That probably means I do. Any new changes to your home environment? That was the next task. And actually, I was going to say no, because I just was leaving. But yes, in one sense, that there are some changes to the plants that I moved around and starting to think about how I'm like displaying things and caring for things and what I need to do, as well as kind of got a room divider thing set up. Finally, it didn't really work, and then I got it to work. So there are some changes to the home environment, although I haven't had a whole lot of time because I haven't been here. So I guess a big change to the home environment just in where I'm sleeping, but I'm only here for 10 days, so temporary home environment has shifted. But no, but I have noticed that there is a desire to start moving some stuff around. So I'm guessing as soon as I get back, there will be. Next task, I guess, was to notice or take acceptance of any new freebies or like, stuff that was coming into my life. Being around my parents, I mean, they're feeding me and things. So I guess there's some freebies in that regard. But in general, actually, yes. And I think this goes into line with the synchronicities, which we'll talk about later. But I was getting ready I was going to fly over here and I was waiting and I asked if I could, the next task is called acceptance and we're supposed to see if there's any new flows or like freebies that have come into our life. And one cool thing, and this goes into line with the synchronicities, I was waiting for my flight and I have a big backpack. And in the past, they say, hey, if you've got large backpacks or bags and anybody who minds gate checking it, if they would do so, we'll do so for free. And so I've done that a few times and I said, hey, look, I've got a big bag. If I don't mind, it can go into the cabin or whatever. And this time they're like, well, no, we've got to charge you. Well, I'm not gonna, okay, that's fine. I'd gladly rather keep it with me. I'm not gonna pay to have you put it under. So I then asked about upgrades and they said, well, it's gonna be about $200 to get to the business, not even the business, to just the economy plus, right? Slightly more legroom. And I was like, well, $200 for slightly more legroom, not really worth it. It was $800 for business class. So I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna stick with my seats. And I guess I hadn't really looked closely enough at what my seats were because when I got onto the plane, it was the exit row seats. And it was the middle 4. And so I don't know if you've been on an airplane, so a large sort of transatlantic airplane, oftentimes there's like a couple of seats here, middle row of seats, and then seats on the other sides next to the window. And there's about 4 seats in the middle. And we were here, so we had extra leg room, which was fantastic. Lots of space right next to the bathrooms, which we had headphones on, so it wasn't like it was loud, but super easy to access. And it was, the stewardess were sitting right there, so they could like help us super easy. Everything was just super smooth and I didn't have to pay anything extra. So that was definitely a great freebie. I was happy to accept that one. That was sort of a synchronicity because I was willing to pay a bit for an upgrade, but I wasn't willing to pay what they were asking. And I definitely ended up in a better situation because I had way more legroom than if I had spent $200 to get the, economy plus slightly more legroom. So it worked out as a real win. So that was kind of fun. Outside of that, not so much yet, but we'll see. So the next one is any changes in my financial situation. Yes and no. I mean, there's definitely this time of year. There's some work that comes in separate from the Dirty Roots, but so that helps, which is really nice. And but I'm looking at ways to kind of keep that going throughout the year. And I think that there's some that's getting extended, which is really lovely. So, and then we came out with the Cassiopeia collection right before I came here, and sold a few extra spheres as well. And so, yeah, I'd say things have been improving actually, which is quite nice. So, and then of course every week there is what's called the check-in. So the check-in, there's a couple of questions. It's always very short, but first one is about your morning pages. And if you did your morning pages every day, I actually didn't do all of my morning pages every day. The first day I got here, I forgot until way later, and then didn't do them until way late. So they're more like evening pages. And then the second day I forgot as well, and then started doing them. And then I got distracted and I never finished them. So those 2 days, other than that, now the third day and today I did them first thing and I got them done. So, but it hasn't been the best week as far as getting my morning pages done, but I still have sat down to do them every day and I finished them most days. So pretty good success, I would say. So the next question is artist date. Did I do the artist date? What did I do? How did it feel? And I'm considering doing 2. This week I decided to do something a little bit sillier. I didn't have a whole lot of time before I was leaving and I didn't know if I would have a bunch of time here. just because there's quite a few things going on, as well as cleaning the forest. And I ended up deciding that what I was going to do is spend a few hours playing video games. I really like playing video games. I just don't really allow myself to. I oftentimes will get like a video game and play it for 3 weeks, and I'll do that once every couple years. So the last video game I played was Baldur's Gate, and that was nearly 2 years ago now, and I played that for a few weeks. But then I very quickly, after a couple of weeks, I start feeling guilty, and I feel like I shouldn't be playing games. I shouldn't be, I've got so many other things I need to do. And so in many ways, they're sort of a guilty pleasure. They remind me of being a kid and carefree and, Now, I didn't play Baldur's Gate this time. I was downloading it, but it took forever to download. And once I got into it, it takes forever to build a character that I kind of really wanted to play. And then you start, and I'm like, well, I've already done the start screen. It's just kind of boring going through all the basic stuff again. So I went back to a game I really love playing, and one of my all-time favorite video games, and that's The Long Dark. And that is such a fun video game to play. It's set in Canada, which I happen to be in right now. But it's basically, the premise is there's a couple of different modes. There's sort of a sandbox mode, which is the only version that I play. And then there's a story mode as well. But the premise basically is you've crash landed in Arctic Canada, and it's snow everywhere, and you have basically almost no clothes and no resources, and you just have to survive and find shelter and stop, not freeze to death, not starve to death, not get attacked by wolves or bears. One of the great things about this game, they have an expansion pack, I guess, that you can buy, but outside of that, they keep updating the core game. When it came out, it was already more or less, complete in many ways, but they keep upgrading the core game without having to pay for extra things or whatever. And they keep making, even the story version, which I don't play, they keep adding to the story. They keep adding new maps and making the game bigger, more complex. They added a new thing recently where if you don't have a balanced diet, you can get scurvy if you're not getting things with enough vitamin C in them. You can get food poisoning if the food is too old or rotten, and certain foods will decay at different rates. And you have different clothing items that you can wear, and those have different waterproofing and different windproofing and different temperature, as well as they wear. And so you have to repair them, and you have to have the skills to repair your clothes, as well as hunt. And it's just the whole thing is such a complex yet simple game. The beauty of it is amazing. The graphics aren't super hyper realistic, but they're still very beautiful done. And sometimes you get the auroras, which because this is sort of in a post-apocalyptic place where all the electricity's gone down, there's some houses, but it's completely abandoned. But when the aurora comes on, all of the electrical equipment starts flickering, so lights will flicker and the computers will kind of flicker on. And so if you're awake during the nighttime and it happens to be an aurora, things change. Really complex. The Long Dark, beautiful game. If you guys don't play it and you like video games and you like survival games, definitely highly recommend it. The learning curve is steep. There's no maps, right? I mean, you can draw your own map. You have to find charcoal from fireplaces, and then you have to spend time outside, and the weather conditions have to be good enough for you to be able to survey the local area. So you can start drawing your own maps, but there's no maps. Now, you can find ones online, but still, so you're dropped in, you have no idea where to go. So really, the learning curve is very, very steep. But once you get a hang of it, it's an endlessly complex and fun game. So that is definitely what I did for my artist date, and I don't regret it. And frankly, I think I'll be doing more of it. It's so much fun. And I do love Canada. I am a Canadian citizen, and despite having grown up in the United States, and this is a really lovely place, lovely video game, and yeah. Did I experience any synchronicities this week? Well, I think the upgraded, not upgraded seats was a synchronicity. I don't know that I noticed. I feel like I noticed a few others. They were maybe a bit smaller, so I didn't I don't remember them off the top of my head, but there were definitely a few, and I'm noticing synchronicities more and more of things just sort of working out even when perhaps I don't feel like they will, or I don't know how they will, and yeah. Were there any other issues? Were there any other issues that I consider significant to my recovery this week? I think being out here in the woods, healing is very healing. From my mother's side of the family is from this part of Acadia and Cape Breton in particular, and sort of a long history of being here, both native as well as Acadian side of the family, and hiding out in the woods here is something my family, I guess my ancestors did. So I don't know, there's something very peaceful and calming about being here. I don't think I could live here. The weather is rough, but coming here for short periods of time is always very restorative, and being out here and spending time in nature and healing the forest is also very healthy and helpful for me. So yeah, and that's it. I mean, I want to say thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this episode or enjoyed this series or just having fun, watching me go through this, then please, subscribe and follow along. And I really hope to see you all in the next one. Yep. Come on, bud.